So today we're going to look at x and y intercepts in graphs. So what does that mean? It means where the graph cuts the x-axis or cuts the y-axis. So we must take into account something which is very important. All these points in the x-axis, 1, 0, 2, 0, 4, 0, 7, 0, have something in common. And it's that the y-axis, and minus 3, 0, the y-coordinate is 0. Remember that points have x and y coordinates. In the x-axis, all points have y coordinate equals 0. So the equation of the x-axis is y equals 0, because all the points have y equals 0. In the y-axis, we have something similar. This point is the 0, 4, 0, 3, 0, minus 3. All the points have the x coordinate equal to 0. So in the y-axis, the formula for the y-axis is x equals 0, because all the points, it's the condition, all the points have x equals 0. So when we want to find the x and y intercepts of a graph, we have to set those conditions for each axis. So let's look at some examples. Imagine we have a straight line, y equals mx plus c. So for example, 5x minus 3. Okay, so we want to find the x and y intercepts. And remember that the x-intercepts are also called the roots of a function. Okay, so we want to find the x and y intercepts. I always teach the students to do the following method every time they are asked for this. So it's as soon as they are asked for the x and y intercepts, just write down which axis you're working with, OX or Y. When I say O, is that it starts from point O and it's the x-axis. Okay, so and immediately after, the equation for each axis, which you remember is the other coordinate equals to 0. So if it's the x-axis, is the y equals 0, and if it's the y-axis, is x equals 0. Okay, and once you've set those conditions, you apply them on the equation. So y equals 0, so that means 0 equals 5x minus 3, so that means x equals 3/5. So the point, the x intercept is the 3/5, 0. Okay, so let's look at the y-axis. The y-axis is x equals 0, that's very easy, so it's y equals minus 3, and then it's 0 minus 3. Okay, so again, what we've done is we wrote down each axis, wrote the equation of each axis, which is the other coordinate equals to 0, and apply it as a condition on the equation. Let's look at an online calculator so we can check our results. So this is the graph, 5x minus 3, and as you see, it cuts on the y-intercept is the 0 minus 3. We could see that from the equation. It's the c y mx plus c. Well, it's that c. It equals minus 3, and then it cuts on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3/5, and that's 3/5, and that's 3/5, so that's correct. Let's look at another example. Let's look at a parabola. So y equals x squared minus x minus 2. So again, the method, I like for students to have methods that they can use in the exam and they can rely on, and then they can use without wasting time, and they know the work. So write down the x-axis, write down the y-axis, write down the equation of each axis, which is the other one equals 0. Let's start with the y-axis because it's easier. So 0, 0, so that's y equals minus 2. So the point is the 0 minus 2. Perfect. Now let's look at the other one, y equals, so if we do 0 equals x squared minus x minus 2, that's a second grade equation. We can solve it with a second grade equation. If you do the equation minus b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a, you'll obtain 2 points. Try it out. Stop the video, try it out, check if you get this result. The 2 points are x equals 2 and x equals minus 1. So the points would be 2 not and minus 1 not. Okay? So let's again draw it on the online calculator and check our results. That's a parabola. it cuts the x-axis in 2, 0 and minus 1, 0. Those are the roots of the equation. And the y-intercept in this case is it's 0 minus 2. Okay? So that was 0 minus 2, 2, 0, minus 1, 0. So that's correct. Let's look at our last example. Let's do a division of. So that's x squared minus 9 divided by x squared plus 3. Okay. So again, our method: x-axis, y-axis, x equals 0, y equals 0. The opposite equals 0. Let's do the y-axis, it's easier, so that's 0, 0, that's minus y equals minus 9/3, so y equals minus 3, so that's 0 minus 3. And then if we do y equals 0, then we have this fraction equals to 0. When a fraction equals to 0, as the denominator can be moved to the other side multiplying, and any number times 0 is 0. If the denominator is not equal to 0, because then we would have an unknown and we would have to solve it apart, but x squared plus 3 is never 0. So the only condition we have to look at is the numerator equals to 0, and that we have x equals plus minus 3. Okay, remember that the square root of a number has two possible values, the plus and the minus. It's very important to have those, or you'll miss one of the results. So that's plus 3, 0, minus 3, 0. Okay, let's look at the online graph now. So that's our graph over here. Again, the x-intercepts or roots are the minus 3, 0, and 3, 0. Those are the points that we obtained. And the y-intercept is the minus 3, the 0 minus 3. Okay? 0 minus 3 plus 3, 0 minus 3, 0. So that's correct. Okay? So again, it's very easy. If you want to find the x and y intercepts of a graph, you just have to remember the x-axis has the equation y equals 0. The y-axis has the equation x equals 0. Apply those conditions on the graph, on the function that you're given, and you will get the results for each intercept. Okay, I hope it helps.